Hello, I'm Ricky.
And I'm Joe, and this is Season 8, Episode 19 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast. It is slated to come out on November 3rd, 2025. And today we are talking about we're talking about a lot of things. We're talking about a lot of different things, but we are going to be looking at this cider that we have, which is an American tradition. Mckenzies Hard Cider, Black Cherry Hard Cider. And it is 5% ABV. They do not have like much of a read on it. Yeah, They don't really have anything. I was looking at the neck just to make sure before I put it down and said that. I'd looked over it and I didn't see one. You've had a sip.
Man, that one's also really good. It doesn't need anything on the back. It tastes exactly like a black cherry.
Yeah,
That's just what it is. It's an alcoholic black cherry with some carbonation on it.
it does have a little bit of a brightness that black cherries don't have, but
Yeah,
that's from the underlying cider.
yeah. It's also like the acidity of the alcohol and stuff like that brightens it up on your palate and all that. I mean, that's good. It's not overly complicated. It's not. It's not something that you would wax here poetically about of the cinnamon notes and the other thing that's not there. It's a fruit drink. It tastes like a what you would get like maybe like a black cherry medley. Like it's not the type of richness like a black cherry juice, but when you get those blends that have it's like apple and pear anyway, it's good.
It'd be good to like brine chicken in or something like that, or
Maybe
have with some chicken.
Okay, yeah, I'll give you that. Maybe one of the things I make for Thanksgiving a lot is like apple cider turkey breast.
Yeah,
where like you're cooking it in a mixture of like cider and some other stuff. Maybe I could see that.
Yeah,
it's a little on the sweet end, so it wouldn't be the only thing you cook it in, but like you add it to like your chicken stock or something like that to give it like a little bit of a fruit flavor. I could maybe see it. I think it's just a really nice sipping cider.
Yeah, this would be a great by the campfire sipper too.
Yeah, like a good all around. Because there's a lot of ciders that I drink that are good. I like ciders, but it becomes like I would have that with like a very particular meal, or it's got like a level of funk to it where it's like I'd have that like in a particular social situation. This is just a very solid fruit cider.
Yeah,
and it's on the sweeter end. It's not like a semi-dry. I mean, it's what I would like. When my schedule is I put the kids to bed and then that's my time finally.
Yeah.
And I'll sit down like watch YouTube or play a video game or something like that. That's what I would pop open. Where like I'm gonna be at my desk for an hour or two. I want something to drink when I am. I put this in the same place of where I would put like a diet soda or like a ginger beer or something like that.
Yeah.
As like my winding down drink.
I totally could see that. It's a little sweet for me.
It's on the sweeter end, definitely.
I probably wouldn't like buy this or replicate it at the same level of sweetness. I would like to try to make a black cherry cider though. I've got a cider going right now that I'm either going to bottle it today or I'm going to, depending on how it is today, I'm going to do something with it. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. I've got about 2 gallons of cider downstairs. We'll see what ends up happening.
I think you go the exact opposite direction because like it's cherry, so it's sweet, but it's also quite tart. Like there's definitely some sourness to it. I think you could, if you cut the sweetness but kept everything else, it wouldn't be very good because the balance of sweet to sour would be off. But I think you could go completely the other direction, make it a sour, and just really embrace like just sour all the way, and that would work really well.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like. Bring down some of the sweetness, ratchet up some of the tart and sourness in it, and that would probably make it like I would be like, oh, this is the perfect cider.
Yeah,
I think then. I really like it a whole lot. It is not as good as the Warlock.
No, it's not. But it's
that we had last time.
I do think it's probably the best cider we've had in a while.
1911. Okay, on the podcast.
Yes, I don't include our other.
Okay, yeah. This is the best cider we've had on the podcast in a bit.
Yeah.
Now, I still think the Recodlings are better, and 1911 makes some better ciders, but we haven't had those in the last like 2 years.
Yeah.
So I need to get some of the 1911s that I've been experimenting with. 1911 made a barrel-aged, like a whiskey barrel-aged pumpkin fall cider.
Ooh.
It was so good.
Okay.
Venus hated it. She was like, "This is not good," And I was like, oh, it's so good. It is exactly the sort
Yeah.
of thing that I love.
But you know what? That's one more compliment I will give this cider. I think in the race to compete with beers, a lot of ciders are getting very mature in their flavor
Right.
profiles with like a lot of different stuff kind of mixed into them. And that can often and sometimes turn off the people who go to ciders because they don't like beer.
Right.
If you've got someone in your life that like likes a sweet drink, maybe they normally prefer a cocktail, but like, you know, you want some stuff that can just sit in the fridge, and most pre-mixed cocktails in the fridge kind of suck. This is a really good option.
Absolutely, 100%. If you like somebody that likes sweet stuff
Mm-hmm.
and not very like they can't tell that it's alcoholic, this is the drink for them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get like a couple more just because I think.
Man, I might too. I make this mistake because I said last time I don't drink that much.
Yeah.
But I've cleared out my fridge. There's space in my fridge. I might just have like 12. I'll get 2 to 3 packs of the pumpkin one from last time. And I'll get 1 pack of this.
Yep.
And then I won't drink them for 6 months. But they'll sit in my fridge and they'll be there when I decide I want
every
them.
now and then we'll talk about them, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, I should drink that." And
I'll probably see. Here's what'll happen is I'll have company over, and that's when I'll bust them out.
or we'll pick up our Baldur's Gate 1 game that we never finished. And
We never finished. I'm trying to build up the courage, and it is courage, to do a Baldur's Gate 3 run with some people because I don't like Baldur's Gate 3. I can't get into that formatting. It's nothing to do with the game.
Yeah.
I love everything about the game except how it controls. And that's terrible because that is exactly what the game is. That's like I'm basically just saying I love everything about the game but the mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, it's a sweeping brush. But if it was not a third person and like a real third person, almost like, you know, you're controlling stuff on the map, you know, the same like an RTS is kind of game, I'd be into it. You know, if it was more like a first person and it switched over to like a Final Fantasy Tactics combat system, or like if it was in that system in like when combat starts.
Yeah.
Like if I could play it first person and then combat starts and it zoomed me out at the top, I'd probably engage with it better and stuff like that. I don't know why. I had the same problem with their other games.
But with Divinities,
yeah,
Original Sin 1 and 2.
Exactly. I couldn't ever get into those. And what was the other one? Pillars of Eternity. I couldn't get into Pillars of Eternity,
which is not by the
not the same people, but it's like the same type of game. I couldn't get into any of those, and I can't get into.
And it's so bad because that's unfortunate because there are so many great games that have the isometric third person
it's
view.
so many of them, and a lot of ones that are like really narrative rich games that I love. Like what's the communism one? I'm blanking. People might understand what I'm talking about. You're the detective that like wakes up drunk in the room.
Oh, you're
a bunch
talking
of words.
about Disco Elysium.
Disco Elysium.
Yeah,
Can't get into
that's
Disco
a
Elysium because
great
it's the
game.
same sort of setup.
It is.
I just can't do it. Something breaks my immersion that it doesn't hold my attention very well. But I love games like that. So the reason I have to build up the courage is like I want to do a 4-person D&D game. Like let's go and just like experience this. Or even like a 2v2 would work where you each control 2 characters or something like that. But there's so many formats for online play that would be great. But I just know I don't like that sort of game, and I don't want to like get in a situation where we're like 10 hours in, I'm just like, I'm not feeling it, guys. Sorry, I'm out.
I'm out.
You know, I know I'm your healer, but I'm gone.
Yeah, I dipped. You have to get somebody else to play Esmeralda. Let's talk about, is AI enshitified, or is it in danger of becoming enshitified, or is it making the enshitification of everything happen faster? I think 2 of these things are happening and true. I'm not going to influence you by telling you, but I'll tell you after you've done your talk through about it.
I do think it's enshittifying, and I think it's enshittifying because it is letting the enshitters, the people who want to enshit, able to do it with a lower barrier of entry.
Right.
So now you don't have as much of a burden to start to enshit something. And I do think it is also enshitting faster because the people who want to enshit and knew how to enshit before can now do it at a more efficient rate. And so like taking like something like Dead Internet Theory as an example, AI bots are easier to put together.
Yep.
And they reach out and enshit stuff faster because you don't have to target them as much. And not saying that there's no good things that have come out of AI. There have been good things that have come out of AI. But I think we talked about this maybe earlier this podcast season. You know, good guys get stuff, the bad guys get the same stuff.
Yep.
And AI is really a great tool for increasing productivity where it doesn't really matter a lot. And, I mean, it does, we've talked about the, like, medical applications. Like, there's things it does really well and, like, specific things. Like, large language models are really good at, like, being okay at something, which really sucks when you're trying to replace people, but it's really awesome when you're just trying to be, like, a little shitty thing on the internet.
Yeah.
It's, like, perfect use case. So, like, I do think it's more useful at times to people who want to, like, they just want, like, a little bot, or they just want a little thing. Because that's what it is. It's just a little guy. It's this little bot that's going to hallucinate and not be that great. But it can show up on a YouTube video and talk to somebody, and you get paid 1 penny for that because someone bought followers or engagement or something like that. Sure, boom, do it.
I believe it's the last two, just like you said. It's not that AI is inherently enshitified.
Mm-hmm.
It's that it is becoming, as it is developed and marketed and profitized, more enshitified than any possible enshitification that happens, like, from, like, people just doing that sort of thing with it. Because, like, I have models that I run at home. They don't give me the same sort of, like, things that corporately run AI models do. And there's ways that you can kind of, like, work those things around. You can put them in your own neural networks if you've got the equipment and stuff like that. You can train your own model based off of those models. And I know they can inject things into the AI to, like, kind of mess those things up, but that's exactly it. That is somebody coming in and altering it, and thus enshittifying it. So it in itself is not necessarily enshitified. It is becoming enshitified as people manipulate it.
Yeah, people are interacting with it, and they, an AI just learns what you want it to do. It gets it, like, the brownie points.
And then it's also enhancing the enshitification that's already happening to all these other things that are out there.
Yeah.
Whether it's shopping or advertisements or, your watching experience and stuff. And most of it's stuff that we interact with but don't really need.
Yeah, exactly. Or, like, even the stuff that we do need. Like, there's been a lot of a pushback on, like, Google with their AI assistant stuff. Or their AI search stuff, because, like, it's making regular search worse, people are saying, and stuff like that. And, like, it's an interesting little situation, because, like, it's definitely enshitified in some ways, because it's telling you information that is accurate, but maybe not as accurate as it could be. And it's then, I think the biggest enshitification is now that it's interacted with a person. Already before AI, we had the problem that people just click the first 1 or 2 links of Google, and that if it's not in those first 1 or 2 links, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Second page of Google is not a thing. For most people, the first page of results is the first page of results, and it really better be in those top couple, or you're not getting down to the bottom of that first page of results. And now the first thing is this AI thing that maybe sounds like it knows what it's talking about, it's close to what it's talking about. Like, I am taking better care of my health, went to some doctors recently, got on some medications, researched those medications, because, like, I'll say this, for more modern medicine, I remember growing up, like, they wanted to give you something. They're just like, hey, I'm prescribing you this thing. Whereas now, I mean, my doctors are having, like, conversations where it's like, hey, you've got, like, this problem, and here's, like, this range of drug that, like, here's, like, 8 options.
Yeah.
And instead of just picking one, I was like, okay, let me go research it, and I'll call you back. And so I started researching a bunch of different things. And one of the drugs in particular, when you AI search it, it's like, hey, this is not, you're a dude, you can't take this. This is a woman, this is a drug that's for women. Or, like, when I first searched the medicine, it's only talked about women. So I then put for men. It was like, no, this is a drug for women. But then when you actually sit and research, it's like, oh, it's off-label prescribed to men for exactly what my problem is.
Yeah.
And it's really good for that. And it doesn't work for everybody, but the people it works for means you don't have to go get a more serious treatment that just does, like, permanently affect you.
Right.
So, like, it becomes like, I'm going to take a pill instead of needing, like, injections for the rest of your life and stuff like that. So, like, that was hidden from me. That's an enshitification.
Right.
It gave me a summary that was not really accurate, which, I mean, it was. It's not FDA approved for men. It's off-label prescribed to men for this sort of stuff. But it didn't catch that context. So that could have just been something I switched over and said, actually, okay, I guess that's not a great option. Maybe it's there because insurance will cover it or something, but I need to go to the more serious treatment.
Right.
And I wouldn't have needed to do that. So that's a little bit of enshitification, right?
Right.
So
Absolutely.
But it's well-meaning. Like, it wasn't wrong. It didn't hallucinate. It didn't make something up. It just, in its summary, if that's all you read about it, didn't give you enough information. It wouldn't have been as good as if I had clicked on the first link, which was WebMD talking about the medication.
Yeah. And this is the problem with those AI summaries and people just taking them as if they're the truth, right? You get one of those things, and you're right. It is the enshitification of the internet, and that's one of the things that's accelerating it. But you get these things, and like, if you're like, hey, how do you get this thing in this quest on this video game? That's not a big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal.
If you just read through that and let the article that it generates for you just kind of walk you through whatever, and don't go to the website that the article's from, or whatever. It's different when you're like, hey, is X poisonous? Is this bad? Should I choose this or this for a very serious medical condition? That's where it starts to become extremely problematic.
Yeah.
And the enshitification and profiteering of everything. And don't get me wrong, I really want the company I work for or the company that I own to make money. I just don't want it to do it at the sacrifice of other people.
Yeah, because also, ultimately, if it's at the sacrifice of other people, it's not going to last. And I think that's the other part of this, like, enshitification AI race, is that, like, we're pumping $1 bajillion into AI because nobody wants to be late to the AI party. But
the ultimate goal is for it to replace humans to do things.
Well, people don't even really know. And that's the thing, that, like, we know AI is going to settle somewhere.
Yeah.
It's because that's almost like saying, hey, we think the internet's going to land somewhere. This is very similar to, like, a .com era type of deal.
Yeah.
Where, like, everything was going to be a website. And then for a while there was like, everything's going to be an app, or now it's like everything's going to be some AI. That's true. AI is not going to go away. AI is going to find its place in our society. And if you're the person when that kind of like that shift happens, that your AI product is already where it needs to be, you are going to get such an intrinsic market advantage. Like it's going to be like a Microsoft sort of deal. Like you're just, and that's what they're all clamoring for, of like, we got to be in all the spaces because we got to be ready for when that thing happens, even though that thing's not here yet. And the problem is now we're putting AI everywhere, and I think it's really, it's pushing on people in a way previous booms didn't.
Yeah.
Apps kind of did a little bit. There were a lot of people who were like, I went to the website and the website told me to install the app. I don't want the app. I don't want a whole app on my phone for this thing I use every now and then. I just want the website. But like, websites didn't really have that. I guess, well, maybe it did, because I was young then. Maybe there were those people who were like, no, I just want to go into your store. I don't want to have to do it on a website.
There absolutely were. Absolutely were. And there still are.
Like, especially for shopping. I could see shopping would have been like that. Maybe less other things, but whatever, that's the thing. AI is getting a bad rap for a lot of people who don't like how AI is getting forced on them into their search and then their every other thing. So there's going to be whenever it finds its little thing, there's almost like a PR campaign that's got to happen.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, we figured it out. This is what AI is really good for. This is what's going to generate the $1 bajillion we think it's going to generate. And please forget about all those other places we tried to insert it in your life. Somebody thought AI nightlight was a good idea. Sorry, guys. We didn't mean it. AI nightlights aren't going to be a thing anymore. But we figured it out over here. That's what AI is going to be good for.
I'm not saying AI is a bad tool. It's a good tool.
No, yeah, it's a phenomenal tool. It's just that we don't know what the fuck we're doing with it.
Yeah, it's exactly. We've created a solution that we don't have a problem for right now, essentially.
Yeah. Well, I don't even push that. Here's what we found out. We've made some great strides, and we have figured out how to get machines to interact with people in a way they've never interacted with them before. Mm-hmm. We've solved a lot of problems. The issue is we don't. It's such a revolutionary thing, just like how the internet was and stuff like that. We've solved problems that we don't really know which are the good ones yet. It's like it's kind of like, um, if we think back to certain medical discoveries, like penicillin and stuff like that, like antibiotics. Not saying the medical professionals were doing it. I'm not a historian of that time when those things came out, but like it's easy to think about how like certain breakthroughs in medicine just like quote unquote solved medicine.
Right.
Like, and they didn't. Like other things still existed. Everything did not get fixed by antibiotics.
People still had cancer.
People still had cancer. Probably one of the reasons we know more about cancer now is we cured all the stuff that, and then we had to say, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, why
this didn't
dying?
get fixed by antibiotics. What was this? This was something else. And you discover cancer and things like that. And that's kind of like where I feel like we are with AI. Where like we've solved a bunch of problems and some of them are solved and they're good. And now we're kind of putting it in other places that maybe it's making those problems worse. Or maybe we think it solved that problem, but then now we're forming parasocial relationships. So actually, hold on. Maybe a companion you can talk to in your laptop wasn't a good idea because some guy just divorced his wife because he let the AI convince him he was the Messiah.
Right.
Like we're in that place of like we've put it everywhere and now we got to see what works and what doesn't. And the from a business perspective, the good side of that is market research is happening everywhere because everyone's interacting with it. The bad side to that is the AI equivalent of you've got plastic in your blood.
Yeah.
Of crap, it's in me now.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to know what parts of me that's good for and what parts of me that's bad for probably until like 5-10 years from now.
I think what I was saying with it's a solution that's looking for a problem is it's so directionless in what we know that it's good for. It's very good for very specific use cases.
Yeah.
Like detecting problems in a CT scan or something like that that a doctor would have to look for. It's really good at analyzing those things and finding those patterns.
Yep, which I'll be honest with you. The more I talk with people about AI, I separate those. Because like stuff like that has existed for a while. Like it's getting more funding now, so more stuff is coming out that you're getting more like commercially available tools to train for things like that because there's now so much more money in AI. But like in levels of academia, that stuff has existed for a long time.
Yes.
Like that's, if you've seen like teaching a thing to walk, that sort of stuff has existed for a while. That's not brand new. What the brand new AI thing is these large language models. And it's the large language models that like people are really worried about. That's they're like generically replacing people that you can just throw in a bunch of training data and they can do somebody's job, or like it's talking to you so you're forming weird relationships with it. And then also like the image generation stuff and voice generation that like now with the new, what was it, Sona or something like that? Sora. One of the that new stuff over there is the videos are so good that like, man, a year ago it was pretty easy to tell when an AI video was an AI video. And nowadays you're doing some actual like forensics where you're like, does the physics of that object moving look right?
Right. As
opposed to like, it's very obviously AI because that thing doesn't even move like it's alive. I saw someone had recorded it, so maybe they manufactured it in some way, but it was like a video of like some e-celebrity or somebody, I didn't know who they were, talking about like, hey, this is kind of a problem. People are like making videos to troll me of me doing stuff. I haven't done a lot of these things. I'm just like letting my community know. And they flicked up and the next video was that person, that exact person in one of those AI videos of just like throwing slurs and all sorts of other stuff around. And it's like, man, like you can still tell. Like but now it's becoming.
It's a lot harder.
Well, it's harder, and now it's becoming whatever that thing is. What's that concept called? The plane they sent back in World War II, where like it's real famous on the internet now. It's like things like this are popping up. Basically, they were gonna like put more armor on like planes from like World War I or World War II, and they took all the data of like the planes that came back to see where they were shot, and they were like, okay, all the places that got shot, that's where we're gonna put armor. And then somebody was like, oh no, see, that's wrong, because those planes got back.
Right.
So they got shot there but made it back, so they were okay. where are we not seeing planes get shot? Because if they got shot there, they never made it back.
Right.
And so it's that type of thing where, like, I'll watch videos because I do a couple shorts before bed. And I'm like, that's definitely AI. But, like, I didn't think the one before it was, but was it?
Yeah.
Like,
which one's AI generated that people can vote for?
Yeah. Now I got to ask myself, okay, has my percentage of videos that I think is AI become skewed? Because now I'm just catching the bad ones and the good ones are getting through. And I think the good ones are real now. You know, that's the other side of it. You know, maybe that's almost where the more enshitification might be. Is, you know, the AI assistant is an AI assistant. You don't know that 1 minute video you just watched that's maybe highlights of the, you know, latest world events. One of those two events aren't real. You know, that sort of stuff.
I think it's a double-edged sword.
It definitely is, yeah.
I think that is happening to enshitify things, but also the use of AI and it being manipulated is enshittifying things, but also the bots that it's creating are enshittifying things, but also the way that humans are using it and thus training it to interact with humans is also enshittifying it. Not the corporations manipulating it, but the people that are just using it for therapy or whatever, when that's not the point of it. You know, and then also the dollar signs in certain people's eyes to be able to get rid of a workforce or to be able to replace human workers instead of augmenting them is also enshittifying. And you can just go down the list. So there's just a ton of things that are there. And I said a double-edged sword. Maybe I should have said like a double-edged chainsaw. But, you know,
it goes fast. I mean, that's not a bad. I mean, I think all chainsaws are double-edged, but yeah.
Well,
you know.
I meant like a two-bladed.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, and you're right, and I think that's the thing. The third point that we're talking about, it's the speed at which things are changing and getting kind of enshittified, because there are so many dollar signs. Like, I'm sure, what was it, Sora?
Yeah,
that's going to make money. It's going to make so much damn money.
Yeah,
like that's a decent use case. I mean, let's ignore the people using it for not great purposes, but like you can. I was watching some people were talking about that you can like get it to generate multi-minute long videos and stuff like that. Like, give that 3 or 4 more years, and like maybe it's like little screenplays you're writing become their own animated show.
Yeah,
you just learn how to write it right. Like that's great, amazing technology that is going to have some impact, but also you can now, if you've got enough reference material, get anyone to say or do anything you want them to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's also scary.
That is an insane use and shouldn't be able to be done. But also, then that takes freedom away from people. So then,
I mean, it's just dangerous for human psychology. Like that's the thing that's been studied, that like, if you think someone has done something bad, even if you learn they didn't, you still have a more negative opinion of them. Right. So like, sure, someone made a fake video. I'm making up a video. Like, this is truly a hypothetical situation. You know, next election cycle, these videos get released of a candidate doing all this bad stuff, and it's made to be subtle, where it's like someone recorded this in the middle of a meeting, or these are pictures from an affair they had on their spouse, or stuff like that. It doesn't matter if that's not real, because the person who sees it, even if they then learn later it wasn't real, or maybe even knew it wasn't real from the beginning, you're still you're planting those thoughts, which have subconscious impacts on how that person thinks. And that goes kind of back to what we were talking about with ads last time. Yeah, I mean,
you get like some of these things where you like have people send you a message, and then and the message is in the video that you're talking about that this thing has happened, this event has occurred. Could be that this product is good, whatever, right? But then that's kind of setting in you, like psychologically, especially if you think that it's like a real thing.
I can see that. We kind of talked about that a little bit in the previous one, that like the in your sleep, the research not there. Outside of like ads,
I wasn't talking about the in your sleep. I was just talking about in general.
In general, you can throw them out there, but those things are generally so specific and mild, because like, at least today, don't learn anything from this ad revenue, but like some of the most grandiose commercials you see are like in that type of style would be like car commercials where they show like the trucks and making the huge jumps and they're in the field and like all that stuff. And like, can that truck actually perform that well? Maybe not. Who knows? Well, I'm sure people who know more about cars than me know, but I mean, like, I don't personally know. I can't comment on that.
Yeah, you have to get the right package and all this other stuff for you to be able to do those things.
It does portray that this is a tough vehicle.
Yeah.
And like, but you're able to do that sort of thing on the fly and instead be like, hey, I just watched that person slap their secretary and call them like a worm. And like, because it can be so much more extreme and visceral than you can get in a, like, this made it on TV. You know, like, at the end of the day, ads have to follow rules. And if you do something like that, somebody in government comes and yells at you and be like, that's illegal, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That Wild West does not exist in you know, well, they are in the Wild West for these AI videos, where it's just like, hey, I got it on YouTube. Even if YouTube takes it down after 3 days when they catch it, it got on YouTube.
People have seen a ton of it. Yeah.
300,000 people saw it before it got deleted. You know, and when does that impact people when they're thinking?
It also now has reached kids who are advancing in their development, and that's influencing them. And that's kind of what I was talking about. Like, the ads are specifically made to they're marketed and made through psychological testing. A lot of them are. There's this whole thing.
Oh, they're definitely focus tested and stuff like that. Yeah.
So then you have like that same sort of process going into stuff like this that's been created to like do stuff and, you know, get these visceral reactions and plant these thoughts and things like that, plant these desires. It is absolutely a thing that AI can and will do, and it takes less and less compute power, you know, to do these things once the model's been generated. So, I mean, even though like it takes a ton of compute power to get the model generated, sometimes it takes a ton of power to make it do certain things. But once you get it to a certain point, like I don't have to have a data center to be able to generate images anymore.
Yeah,
I can just do them on my, you know, computer that's over there. It's not even like that powerful compared to like computers nowadays. I mean, it's got like a 3080 in it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got a 3080 too, and that's what runs all of my Stable Diffusion stuff, and it works just fine. You know, it's
you can even generate videos with it if you want.
Yeah.
They're still the spaghetti finger.
Yeah, they're not great. I've done it a few times, and I've not been able to.
It can do it.
Yeah, it can do it. Like, the technology's there, and it's on your home computer, and someday, you know, Sora will too.
Yeah.
You know, it'll just be some lesser version, or, you know, by the time they actually have it, it'll probably be a better version of what's online now. But, you know, what really made me think about what we call enshitification is shitposting. And I learned about the new Sora stuff because I was seeing all these like little funny videos people were making, which are legitimately really good. Some of the stuff that, like, you get somebody with some humor that maybe doesn't have the video editing, they can make some good little funny videos, you know, defying expectations. That's what comedy is defying expectations. But man, then the click of like, oh, now this is like a real situation. Like, I watched it, you know. It was like somebody being a chiropractor, and they were going to do the like, and hey, now we're going to do like the jerk and all that. And they just like launched them across the room and into a wall. And it was very realistic. It was like, okay, that's funny. That's like slapstick comedy in a video. To then hit with the like, yeah, guys, I just need everybody to know I'm not really making these statements about people. And it's like, oh, now I got real.
Yeah. It got real.
I got to see 3 videos of like the good use case, and now we're in the bad use cases.
So let's talk about Windows 10. So Windows 10 is no longer being updated in America. Not all over the world, which is horrible. You know, I have an older gaming computer I've had since like 2013. It runs Windows 10 fine. It won't let me upgrade it to Windows 11. So I'm going to install something like SteamOS on it or something like that.
I'm kind of that same boat.
It's a great computer. It does a lot of stuff. I've just got to figure out like the programs that I want to keep, and then I'll move all the data that I have on the hard drive that I've got on it. And
I don't know much about it, but when I was looking at stuff about this literally just a day or two ago, because I'm in that exact same boat. My main gaming PC can't upgrade to 11. Is they make some utilities that like a lot of the requirements to get to 11 are for like really small features that don't matter.
Yeah.
So it can like suppress that, and so then it'll let you do the upgrade because it basically just like tricks the system into thinking you have whatever little thing you need on the motherboard to do whatever little thing that doesn't matter.
That TPM 2.0.
Yeah, something like that.
Is it? Yeah. I'm looking into that too. I haven't decided, but in Europe, at first, you still can get Windows updates in America if you have signed into a Microsoft account and or turned on backup.
Yeah. Which requires a Microsoft account, so you got to have your cloud account connected to it.
Which, I mean, on one hand, that does create some convenience there. Like I can't deny that signing into my Microsoft account to get into is like signing into my Apple account. It makes things easier when I'm trying to do certain things.
Yeah.
And I don't have a problem with that. But the way the two companies handle that, very different. And the problem I have with that is that there's all this marketing and research and everything that's going into what I'm doing and taking away the freedom that I have on my personal computing. Yeah. I already get that enough with my smartphone. I don't really want it on my laptop or desktop or anything like that. So I think that I have a whole bunch of Linux boxes in my house. I'm really thinking about just like taking the plunge and moving to Linux. That I just have some so that computer is also my computer that I use to like rip CDs and Blu-rays. So that's how I get all the content for my personal media library. Is basically I buy a CD, I turn it into MP3, FLAC, and ALAC files, for me to be able to use, depending on whatever service I want to. And then, I'm probably going to get rid of, I've been talking about it for a while, but I'm probably going to get rid of this year, like my Spotify account and stuff like that, because I don't really need it anymore. And my personal media library is really mostly what I listen to. I normally turn it on Plex or Jellyfin, depending on where I am, and I watch or listen to or whatever, the stuff that I'm doing. I just don't need Spotify anymore, and the stuff that it gives me is not that great. There is one feature that it has though that I haven't been able to replicate in a lot of other places that kind of makes me want to keep it around. So you can get if you have a friend who also uses Spotify, you can connect with them and share greatest hits of the stuff that you like between the two of you, and discover music that both of you like, and then also discover music that's sonically similar to that. If Plex had that Plex would just basically kill Spotify for me. Or if Jellyfin did something like that, it would kill Spotify for me. I really like that feature. I don't use it that often, but it's kind of a fun thing to be able to do with somebody. Anyways, I think this Windows 10 thing and being forced to move to Windows 11 is just really crappy.
Yeah.
I hate it.
It's not a great look for Microsoft either.
Yeah.
Because this is a problem with the hardware requirements to upgrade. Something like 30% of all computers are still on Windows 10.
Yeah.
That's not even 30% of Windows computers, 30% of all computers. It's a chunk that are just not capable of upgrading. And you're not going to get 30% of the world to replace their computer. It's just not going to happen. So they have to have, and I think it is it's a bad look. They're going to have to do something, which they already did, which is we'll support it for one more year if you'll sign in and do that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, you're a piece of software that runs on a piece of hardware. And the name of the game for a long time, I would say almost all time, has been your software needs to run on the hardware available.
Right.
That was the breakthrough for languages like Java of now I can have a virtual machine, so I don't have to care as much about the hardware, just at a developer level, because it mattered so much. You're going to have different compiles for different architectures. They just had to, because that was the hardware available. Microsoft and kind of tried to take this take of like, and you'll upgrade for us. And
Right.
That didn't happen.
Yeah, and that's not happened across the board.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, we'll let you know what we end up doing when we solve this problem. I'm pretty sure that once I compile the list of, and I've just been avoiding it. Once I compile the list of things that I want my computer to be able to do, which is much smaller than it used to be, I'm going to move to like Bazide or something like that, and just install those programs on there and use it as a game streaming, kind of fun computer for things like that. And then, when I'm not doing that, set up the other programs that I want to be able to like rip CDs and stuff like that. But I mean, I really do like Pop OS for that sort of thing too.
Yeah, Pop OS is nice.
Yeah, Pop OS is pretty nice. It's basically Ubuntu, so. But we'll see. I might switch to like another flavor. This season, I think we only have 3 more. But there is a new silicon architecture that's out. It's not x86. It's not ARM.
Yeah.
But I think it could be used in both. But basically, it's a way of stacking the wafers so that you can get more
with like an insulator in between. Yeah, it's not a new concept. It's just becoming more important. So I know we've talked about it a couple times on the podcast, but like my intro to computer science when I was in university, the first class they had you take, which was I think even called Intro to Computer Science, had a bunch of guest speakers, and one of those guys was the chip manufacturer guy, and he was like, this is why we're trying to go to more and more cores and stuff like that. It's individual cores just really can't get much faster. We're starting to hit like limits, like literally the speed of light and like heat absorption and stuff. And so that's what drives it as diversity into architecture is, okay, well, maybe I can just have more cores. And now it's kind of coming, it's like, well, we can't really get much smaller anymore. So maybe now we just, the resistor itself is smaller, but we put more of them on there by making it taller. And now instead of you having 4 separate chips, it's really just one big chip. But, now you've got the heat considerations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It is good to see people experimenting with that stuff. But I will say, for people that go back and read the article, one of the things that I thought was a little interesting was they're talking about like, hey, you probably wouldn't maybe do this in a supercomputer, but this could be great for like wearables and like smaller, less important pieces of technology. But then their primary restraint is heat, which is something
Also
you can't get away with in a wearable. So I'm not sure where we'll see it. I mean, I definitely think we would see it in other consumer grade technologies. As wearables was a weird take for me because, like, man, if my watch is hot, no.
Yeah.
That's an uncomfortable thing in the world. My external battery gets hot, and when I unplug it and then put it in my pocket, I hate life for like 10 minutes before it cools down. But like in a TV or like in a little thing that's stationary that maybe has other stuff going on, especially I think a TV might even be a great example because it's a large electronic.
Yeah.
So like your little chips might not be that big on it, and there's so much material to heat up that like if that particular chip runs hot, it's not going to affect the performance of the overall machine.
Yeah, and you could underclock them maybe to like control that heat and stuff like that.
I don't know. At the time you're underclocking now, why isn't it just like one layer less?
Well, if you're talking about being able to have like multiple cores doing things, like this is a thing that happens with server parts all the time. You get slower cores, but you get like 56 cores instead of.
Well, yeah, definitely. But like this is a separate take. We're essentially putting multiple chips in one slot. We're just stacking chips on top of each other. So like that's got I don't know the math. I won't claim to be an expert. I'm not a chip manufacturer, but there's no way that's linear.
Right.
Like there's a point of diminishing returns here that I think has to be considered as part of talking the wider architectures, which is just more and more and more cores, which are essentially now just becoming smaller and smaller and smaller transistors. They really, in a certain way, almost feel like they're competing technologies. So like, hey, we're starting to have a hard time getting smaller, so maybe we keep the small parts, put more of them on, make the big part, separate them with that insulation layer. And I guess they still have to communicate in some way, so I don't know how that works. I don't know if maybe they've got separate pins for the different ones, or if maybe they've got like a core center they go through.
Yeah, it's hard to know. And like, while this is not necessarily my specialization in technology, I really get nerdy about these sorts of things because, like, I mean, even like router and switch silicon, right? And stuff like that. I could see how something like this could be useful in certain applications. I agree with you. I don't think that wearables would be the application that would be useful. You have to overcome the heat. somewhere.
Yeah, and I mean, in all honesty, like a router's not a bad take.
Yeah.
It's something that needs decent compute, but doesn't need a ton of compute, especially stuff you put in people's houses. You know, that's going to be in a fairly well insulated area. It's going to be a very small portion of the overall hardware of the device. Like,
And having more cores would help with the ability to like do different processes, like if you have like a VPN and like some other things like that.
You know, there's all sorts of applications. I just don't think the big and hot application works for something I'm putting on my body.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely agree. I didn't think that was
good. It was the first thing that took out of me. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Wait a minute. It's like,
yeah, and it I included like most of the title in the link or the topic that we have here, specifically talking about it getting around Moore's law. I don't really see how that. Like, that felt more like just something they put in the article to say that, but according to the researcher, that is kind of like what they're trying to do, and I don't see how that's.
No,
like,
I get that, because like Moore's law, it's like a lot of these other like Occam's razor and things. It's like it's not an actual law. It's just that we just call it that. But no, I mean, for a very long time that did hold true. That as we were getting the rush was to make things smaller, and in all honesty, even today, I mean, that's why Taiwan is geographically so damn important. Is because it's one of the few places in the world you can make these super just like 3 nanometer whatever they are thick boards,
have the foundries to do it.
Yeah, and all that sort of stuff. Like, because that has been the drive of computing, is you're making stuff smaller and smaller and smaller, so you can fit more and more and more and more layers and more little transistors and things like that. It's basically economy. It's like scale.
Yeah.
It's I've got this piece to work with, and the way I make it better is I can fit more of the good stuff on it. And what they're trying to say is, hey, we're starting to really. This is now a manufacturing's arms race, which it is. You know, if you can make the 3, it's the I don't know if that's micrometers or nanometers, but the little, if you can do 3, whatever it is,
it should be nanometers.
Yeah, if you can do 3 or whatever it is, and your competitor can only do 5, you are massively cannot be overstated how much more technology able you are than your competitor.
Even the difference between 3 to 4 is huge.
Yeah, there's always a huge improvement each layer down.
But you're looking at like maybe like 3.4 versus 4.1. Then you're starting to get like closer. Like
maybe I don't know how,
but still I mean, even going into like percentages, you get like these huge advantages when you get like over a certain amount.
Yeah, I don't know the math. I won't claim to be a hardware expert at that level, but it is a massive improvement, and I think they're taking the take of like that. That's starting to slow down. We're not doubling every year anymore, because now it's getting way too hard. We're getting way too small. So maybe we need to start looking at, we're keeping it at 3, but maybe I can have 2 3s stacked on top of each other in a way that's better than having a board that maybe has spaces for like 2 CPUs.
Right.
Like, and I make it's still a 1 CPU or a 1 whatever, but it's doubled up on itself.
Split brain problem that you get with 2 CPUs.
Yeah, potentially. Again, they didn't really talk about how the things interact on the chip.
Well, that is exactly what happens. So like when you have like 2 CPUs in a server or something like that, while they like hand off stuff, there's like an inefficiency.
I understand that, and the queuing problems that exist with that. What I'm saying is, in the article, it doesn't really discuss what they're calling the insulation layer work, in the sense that like it's now fitting in one chipset, but is it still logically 2 different CPUs?
I got you.
Or can they communicate through that layer?
I believe that they still have to be able to communicate through the layer. I believe it's just an insulation layer where they're like connected. So they're they're logically one, but they're physically one. They're logically 2, but they're also like able to they're like chiplets at that point almost.
Yeah, maybe
you can combine them. That was my understanding of how this should work. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Again, not my particular expertise in technology. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic either way. Like there's never a bad thing when something like this happens. Like we kind of get stuck in we think about building something one particular way, and ultimately we're always going to run into an eventual restraint. And having more people thinking about different ways to do it, even if they don't think of the way that becomes the way to do it, it helps pave the way for solving that next problem.
Yeah, 100%. 100% correct. Well, I think that's the end.
That's the end
of today. Okay, well then,
All right.
let's
I had
talk
my
about
warm cider.
the
Yeah.
beer.
See, I wasn't even going to let you get
Okay,
to it.
okay.
I cut into you beforehand. I wasn't going to let you start the outro.
I wasn't even going to start the outro. I was going to talk
Yeah.
about this.
I was too prepared.
I corrected myself.
I was too ready for you. Cut you off at the pass. I don't like it as much warm. It is still very good warm, but it brings the sweetness out more and it kind of suppresses the tartness.
Yeah.
I think it had a better balance cold, but it is still good.
It definitely has a better balanced cold. It gets sweeter. It loses some of its tartness, and it becomes more like, instead of a black cherry, like one of those like maraschino cherries or something like that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that, because that's really the difference between a lot of the cherries. It's just that sweet to acid ratio.
Right. I don't hate it. I wouldn't prefer it this way though. If I had the choice between this and like a beer and they were out warm, and the beer was one that's pretty good warm, I would choose the beer over this.
Yeah.
But that said, it's still a good cider. So try it out. Just drink it cold. This has been Season 8, Episode 19 of the Beer and Broadband Podcast, slated to come out on November 3rd, 2025. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.